I work at, as a researcher for Hope Not Hate, a UK-based anti-racism and anti-extremism campaign group. We have quite a small organisation, but we have a variety of approaches to tackling online hate that are relevant to it. My own area is the research team, and a big part of what we do, I mean, obviously it relates to online social media platforms, and there we engage in on multiple levels. So there is a constant ongoing dialogue with platforms, urging them to take more effective action, and to change their policies to make the online safer for all. On the sort of day-to-day level, this is requesting that certain accounts or content be removed. This is, as everyone will understand, very much a kind of whack-a-mole game in which people pop up in different places, and the same hateful stuff appears in multiple locations. But we have had some considerable success in getting people with significant reach, and people who play significant roles in the offline promotion of hate as well, removed from social media platforms, and very provably having their reach and their influence reduced in the long term. This sort of engagement on this kind of reporting, it involves a certain amount of pragmatism in terms of we can't report, it would be too time consuming to report every hateful thing we see. We have to sort of marshal our resources towards the battles we think we can win, and to have an understanding of with every platform where their priorities are, what the exact rules are, how to create a sort of dossier of very relevant rule breaches that we think might lead to a removal. We don't just list all of the things that we find dangerous if it's too obtuse, or if it's something that requires too much explanation. Then it's better to focus on the things where you can say very concrete, this is in direct breach of the exact wording of your rules, and to understand what's been effective in the past and to use those techniques in the future. But obviously this the scale of hate online and extremism online, this is a very poor, it shouldn't be subcontracted out to small groups like ours and the many others who are doing similar work. We just simply don't have the resources to begin to scratch the surface of what's out there, and tackling the sort of high publicity, high follower accounts is a very useful thing in itself, but it doesn't help someone who is being targeted by a small account that no one's heard of, but is still obviously making their life a misery with harassment or hate. So we call on platforms and campaign and for them to institute the sort of procedural measures that will actually make this less of an issue ongoing. So things like campaigning for the changes of terms of service to include different variants of hatred, and also improving the mechanisms to detect it and pointing out where those mechanisms are failing. That's something we do. We privately lobby them and very publicly campaign on those grounds. And this, again, it requires an understanding of how these of how things manifest on these platforms, and we need to be able to prove it. So an example recently of a project we undertook was, I say recently, last summer, the European Football Championship. We conducted a project where we monitored the number of racist tweets being directed towards the black players on the England team, highlighting how the number of tweets directed at them spiked at various points during different games. So we're talking about a social issue there, but we're also highlighting how it manifested on Twitter, and the freedom with which people, from some from anonymous accounts, some from named accounts, people felt free to express racist attacks on footballers in the heat of the moment, and just the scale of it was quite shocking. Got some pickup there in the media. We also engage with the government. So in the UK, we've gotten there's been a long process of refining the online safety bill, which is a very wide-ranging piece of legislation that's been working its way through consultation periods. It seeks to tackle a huge number of various types of online harms. And a lot of organisations in the UK have been contributing their thoughts on those grounds. So we've submitted a long response with what we consider to be the priorities in terms of making the internet safer for all. And that's available on our website if anyone wants to look into it. I won't go into it in depth because it's quite a detailed piece. We also have an education department who do some very difficult, challenging work in schools. So we visit, I think since 2016, it's I think it's 90,000 students have been addressed by one of our trainers who go into schools and talk about, I mean, a lot of they're talking about prejudice and hate in general, but a lot of the conversations that they have, which they encourage to be very sort of open discussions, a lot of those conversations are fueled by the children or teenagers discussing things that they've encountered online, the various websites that they visit, and having difficult conversations about where things have come from, sort of trying to challenge and offer counter narratives to some of the hate that they may have experienced, and the sort of beginnings of the rabbit hole that many people can go down. We've also produced a resource for teachers and other responsible people responsible for looking after children, called Signs of Hate, which is a book that discusses the signs of far-right radicalization. So it's a really extensive list of largely attempting to be current, so not a comprehensive list of every slur or racist term or far-right group that has ever existed, but the ones that our research team felt would be likely to be encountered by a teenager on the internet. And if an adult is if a teacher is hearing these terms or symbols in class, then this is something that might indicate to them that a child is in need of some kind of intervention. We are currently in the process of recruiting a de-radicalization officer, but that process is ongoing, and that's not something that we've begun to engage in ourselves. But that's an attempt to address the causes of online hate before necessarily it even manifests online, trying to break that cycle and bring offline some of the issues, because it's clear that for many people see the online and the offline as two different worlds, and discussing the things that people see online with the children in person can have a really good effect in sort of shining some light on it and decontextualizing it, and discussing it with differing views and a wide range of opinions than perhaps you might notice if you are going specifically to one website to encounter these things. And I think that's everything from me.